Hi,
Hi.
welcome back. So I'm a gacha gaming YouTuber. I enjoy gambling because it's in human nature. The thing with gacha players though is that a lot of us tend to really like getting screwed over for some reason. You see this in Dragon Ball Legends players most prominently, with so many of them defending the game's terrible gacha rates and no pity system with "it's how gacha is supposed to be." From my channel's track record, I'm a person with pretty high standards when it comes to games that I play, and especially gacha games, because they're a whole lot more predatory and make a whole lot more money off of their players than normal games. With normal games, you just buy it once and get done with it, unless you're playing an EA or Activision game, and if that's the case, then you've probably encountered the same type of person I'm going to talk about today. When complaining about something in a gacha game, specifically the game I used to play, Honkai Star Rail, 9 times out of 10 somebody will go to the comments and defend whatever bad mechanic or feature or whatever else I'm criticizing by simply saying, "It's a gacha game, get over it or quit." Today we're going to be talking about the largest and most common issues that people complain about when playing gacha games that the rest of the gacha community eats up and asks for more despite it constantly screwing them over. Before we start though, you need to quickly press those like and subscribe buttons to stay tuned for more gacha and gaming content just like this in the future. You should also join the Express Train Discord server for a fun and lovely community to hang out with, where we chat, host giveaways, make fun events, share pictures of pets, and so much more. Now let's get onto it. The type of person I'm going to describe today that excuses everything a gacha game does by saying it's just a gacha game is definitely a pushover who really seems to enjoy corporate's taste in their mouth and worships game companies like they're a god. It may sound familiar to any general gaming fans in the audience, but with Nintendo fans being incredibly obnoxious a lot of the time, when someone says, "well, it's just a gacha game," they don't realize that they fall into at least one or two fallacies depending on the context. Also, a lot of these players quickly tend to use words like tourist to describe someone who does complain about the issues I'm going to raise today. At this point, tourist is more synonymous to normal person. So let's just start with the first part, which is what really gave me the idea to make this video. My friend Axe recently quote-tweeted a Wuthering Waves leak that showed off 2 new female units, and with the last 3 updates or so only having female units, and even before then, the only actual new male unit being Brant, Axe complained about how it doesn't seem we'll be getting any more male units. Instantly, the first reply I see is, "yeah, I'll make sure of it, go play Love in Deep Space." This also ties into a previous tweet that a certain bald man made, talking about the same situation, saying, "this is because the game is for men," which is most definitely rage bait. I mean, rage bait is the man's whole career. The defense here isn't exactly "this is a gacha game," but more so, "this is a gacha game made for men," which is why we don't have any more male units. And that is very stupid. Anybody can and should be able to enjoy Wuthering Waves, and gatekeeping the game from female players or even gay men is kinda really weird. It wouldn't be any less for men if the game had more male characters, it would just be more inclusive to other demographics as well. And the people that actually get heated about players wanting male characters in the game are just really weird. I mean, you're actually actively losing the game profit this way. Now, there is definitely a lot of misogyny in the gaming space in general, not just the gacha space, but recently this has been a huge thing in the Wuthering Waves space specifically, with a lot of people saying a lot of crazy shit to any person that wants male character representation with this space, even straight male players getting accused of being gay, and female players told the usual "go back to the kitchen and make me a sandwich" comments that incels are so used to saying, and then on top of that, one female player was also told to get shot. It's getting crazy. But this video isn't about covering the drama. This type of gatekeeping and insane useless defense of absolutely nothing is just incredibly negative for everybody involved, not only for the game itself, creating a very negative space around it, but also, you know, to the female players getting death threats over this shit. This situation also ties into goon bait in gacha games, and while I don't think goon bait is as big of an issue as virtue signalers on Twitter think it is, I still do think it's just a lazy way to make money that, if overutilized, does lower your credibility as a game dev in my eyes. The same defense is used against people complaining about goon bait, which is that it's just a gacha game, but this time I do think it's actually kind of a viable defense. You're not going to get anywhere by complaining on Twitter about goon bait in Nikke or Azure Lane, because that's what the games are. However, you also do have a right to express your opinion about goon bait in much less obviously goon bait games that kids and teenagers could be playing, like Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, and Wuthering Waves. In Nikke and Azure Lane, it's very obvious that the game is not kid-friendly. Meanwhile, it's much less so in these other 3 titles. Goon bait isn't the biggest problem ever, but if you do defend it valiantly and think you're some brave warrior battling censorship, you're definitely addicted to porn. Find something else to do with your time. Next up, the issue I've actually discussed the most here on this previously Honkai Star Rail channel, and that is power creep and game balance. I, of course, dropped Honkai Star Rail after power creep got too creepy, and game balance was ruined beyond repair with Castorius' global passive. The biggest defense people use over and over and over again is that it's just a gacha game and they all have power creep and they all want you to spend money. Well, here's the thing. FGO, Summoner's War, Arknights, and for a very long and successful while, but not yet anymore, Genshin Impact are all games that made and or still make millions upon millions of dollars monthly, not because they have insane amounts of power creep, but because, well, other than Genshin, there were games that genuinely just satisfied the player base with all of the content they provided, and still provide right now. In the case of Genshin, sunk cost fallacy and copium are basically driving 50% of the revenue for the game, but that's besides the point. Power creep has been real heavy in Genshin in the last few updates, and it's not really gaining much more revenue than usual. Actually, it's much lower than usual, so when people make the claim that all gacha games have power creep, it's the only way they make money, that's just factually not true. Power creep is a lazy way to artificially boost sales for the short term, while also killing your game slowly in the long term. Ruining the balance of the game only benefits the developers for a little bit, until the part of the player base that doesn't like getting constantly screwed over by stupidity and greed quits the game, and then overall the sales for the game will go down. Honkai Star Rail sales haven't been going down, but they will eventually start to drop, and thanks in no small part to power creep because of how many quit and will continue to quit this game because of power creep. And no, I don't think the character buffs will fix it if power creep keeps going on, but let's not continue beating a dead horse at this point. Everybody already knows all the negatives of power creep, and if you're still denying them, you must be smoking some high-grade stuff. Pass me some of that. On the topic of stupidity and greed, things like FOMO and other types of predatory behavior like spending events are also constantly defended with the phrase, "It's a gacha game, of course it's going to be predatory. If you don't want a predatory game, just quit." Which of course is an unproductive message. I don't know why some people seem to enjoy anything FOMO-inducing, when the fear part of fear of missing out is a negative emotion, and when somebody complains about something that induces FOMO, that person defending the game would instantly get defensive because... why? Now, people always get defensive about their favorite games, but people these days are really not accepting of criticism whatsoever. Criticism, and specifically that of the constructive kind, isn't usually made with negative intent, but this type of person always seems to take any sort of criticism made towards their favorite game, whether made in good or bad faith, as a personal attack, and that's just not a healthy mindset to be in whatsoever. Not only do you not owe the million, possibly billion-dollar company that made your favorite game absolutely nothing, but you should also always receive criticism positively, because anybody criticizing you in good faith genuinely just wants the best for you. Like, when I was criticizing Star Rail video after video for like a month straight, I wasn't hating on Star Rail because I wanted it to fail, but I genuinely just wanted the game to start changing and head back to the right path it was on when it first launched. Yet, a lot of players just don't seem to want anything about the game to change because they're pushovers. And that's everything I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching me yap about nothing for 8 minutes straight. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed it to see more things like this in the future. And also join the Express Rain Discord server where you can also yap about nothing for however long you want, talking about gacha, anime, games, and everything else in between. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you next time.